So, hello and welcome everyone. Hello, hello, hello.
How's it going?
Welcome, welcome Patrick to the first workshop. So, a little bit of context. Hey everyone, my name is Fede or Crypto Fede on chain. I'm head of DevRel Mode, and here we have Patrick. Dude, your setup is looking beautiful as always. I love it. You're the magician of video and audio, so I love it. Um,
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you for being here. Um, a little bit of context. This is a workshop in the series from the AI Agent Founder School that we're sponsoring, like we're organizing with Mode and a bunch of other sponsors, basically getting together for 3 weeks to build a functional AI agent, a functional MVP that you can put in front of users. And we think you should test in prod, build in public. And the idea is through these 3 weeks, create a ton of content and build your personal brand, share what you're doing, build in public, which is kind of what we're going to talk today, which is really exciting to me because it's going to talk about the spirit of the whole program. So hopefully you learn a lot from Patrick here, and this will get you excited to start tweeting because devs hate tweeting, right, Patrick? And we know that. Like
Yeah,
people
yes, we
think,
do.
yeah, people think we're super comfortable and love recording ourselves. I hate editing my videos and listening to me afterwards. Like that is the worst feeling ever, but it gets better with time,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah, it does. It takes a while, but yeah.
Yeah, totally. Well, without further ado, Patrick here has prepared an amazing workshop for you guys. It's not too long. It's gonna be direct to the point, hopefully, Patrick.
Yeah,
And
I won't
it's
beat
gonna
around
give
the
you,
bush too much.
yeah, perfect. That's awesome. That's awesome because we have a lot of content for them to watch. So always better to keep the attention going, and you're an expert at that. So yeah, I'll just share your screen whenever you're ready, and we can get it started. Then I know you'll present yourself in the presentation. That's why I'm not.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I'll give myself an intro and everything during the presentation. No problem.
awesome. Feel free to put the presentation now. There we go.
Okay. All right. I'm sharing. Is it up? I think you do. Yeah, there we go.
Great.
Perfect.
There we
I'll
go.
go ahead and hit this play button.
Awesome.
Okay. Hopefully. Okay, good. All right. Well, we're at full screen now, right? All right,
We are
cool.
looking good. Good.
Okay. All right, excellent. So today, obviously, you guys already know we're going to be talking about building live and or just what we call building in public. And my name is Patrick Skinner. I am the senior DevRel engineer over at Permit Data Solutions, or also known as we have several products like RIO and our drive and things like that. So we're very much like the gateway drug to the Arweave ecosystem. So feel free to check that out at any time. A little bit of background on me. I've got a crazy history. I won't go too long into it, but I'm a former special ops combat medic that pretty much turned Web3 DevRel. I love building in public and creating technical video content and things like that. A little bit about that background is I developed a lot of my video and photo production skills back when I was a professional photographer and videographer while I was studying to be a software engineer. So one of these times you'll have to ask about some of those backstories where I used to moonlight as like a heavy metal music photographer and stuff like that. Pretty good times. Couple of my favorite things to do in life is hockey, jujitsu, reading. I love anime, and a little joke between my wife and I is like I love long walks on the beach. And follow me on X and on YouTube. The same username, P Skinner Tech. I create technical videos as well as just talk about developer relations and things like that as well. So, I am also currently building in the AI agent space. So you'll see some posts about that kind of stuff and me building in public in that context as well. A couple of things that we're going to talk about the itinerary really is just defining what the hell does building in public mean? Why should you build in public? Some of the benefits and opportunities to it. What are some of the challenges and how to overcome them? AI agent specific insights. Why should we build in public in this specific topic, and then practical tips and tools that I'll give on the side later. And Fede, feel free to stop me because I can't really see if there's any questions or anything that do pop up. So if they do pop up, feel free to pull them up at any time.
Yeah, don't worry. I'll step in and let you know.
Perfect. Okay. So what is building in public? Building in public, by the general definition, is the practice of sharing your work, process, and progress openly with your community, often in real time. And the core idea is just to be transparent and public as you make your iterations. And you just continue to share successes and, most importantly, failures. Okay, so this is something I really want to point out, is building in public does not mean you only share the successes. It also shares the moments that you really fuck things up. And so, it's okay because, everybody goes back to that whole Thomas Edison quote of when they were building the light bulb, they found out 1,000 ways how to not build the light bulb. Well, I'm sure as a community, we have found out 1,000 ways not to build AI agents. And so it's okay to be public about that. Nobody in here is the perfect alpha freaking, engineer where they're just pumping out based AI agents and stuff and making millions and millions of dollars each day. That's just not how this whole thing works. How this thing works is by us collaborating and working together, by sharing not only our own successes, but our own failures at the same time. So digging into that, why should we build in public? So first off is accountability. When you do share things in public and you are sharing those things with other people that are also building in public, there often becomes you'll find an overlap. And in that overlap, you end up collaborating on ideas, maybe not necessarily building on the same project, but just sharing insights. Sometimes I might see somebody that says, hey, I've gotten this far and this is really interesting. I've done this really cool thing, but I keep hitting this roadblock. And this might be a roadblock that you figured out or overcame just recently. And that's a good moment to be able to share that insight with somebody else. And then on top of that, when they start sharing their insights with you, not only does it help propel you both, but it starts becoming like a bit of accountability. Both of you have the opportunity to be able to say, hey, did you manage to get over that issue of yours? Or, hey, how far have you gotten on this one thing? I'm thinking about building something similar. Accountability becomes, that starts falling into place when you start sharing those things with other people that are building in public as well, especially when it's such a close-knit community. The community engagement, I'm kind of touching on that as well. People start cheering each other on, following each other, seeing how far they get in their own progress versus, maybe even trying to follow them for the fact that the progress you're making is beneficial to them. Networking. I can't tell you how many times building in public has created some sort of opportunity for me. This is often attributed, let's say, hackathons. Hackathons are a great place to build in public. And the reason why is because if you are able to not only, this is a very important skill for engineers, and I really want to iterate this as much as I can, and I feel like this should be a whole slideshow on its own, but the skill of being able to convey what you build is just as important or more important than actually building the thing. Because yes, you can build AI agents and you can build some cool stuff and everything, but if you have no ability to be able to convey the story behind what you built, why you build it, and how it's working or anything like that, then you might as well just, continue to build in your own basement and not share any of the ideas, because the ability to convey this and have that story and being able to tell what you are building is ridiculously important. And when people can receive that information and be able to articulate it and find the value in not only what you're building, but in you yourself, that becomes such an amazing way to create opportunities for yourself. Marketing and awareness. I don't necessarily say that this is the most important, especially in the stage that we're in right now with AI agents, because we are ridiculously early with AI agents. But to say with marketing and awareness, if you are looking to take a project and really make it to a production level, take that project and make it a production level project, then obviously having very early stage marketing awareness is important. In the stage we are in right now, I would say marketing awareness really is only important to possible investors rather than general users. Simply, obviously, like I said, the stage we're in. But yes, marketing awareness by building in public, this is an important iteration. Learning and feedback. Okay, so this goes back to your failures. When you are looking for learning opportunities or feedback, conveying and telling the story of what you're doing well and what's not working is an excellent way to be able to get feedback from people and find and learn from those that are maybe they're 2 steps ahead of you, or maybe they just happen to have the answer to the problem that you're encountering at that moment. Building in public is really important for that, because if you never tell the story or you never ask the question of what issues you're running into and really give context to what that issue is, nobody's going to help you. And so if you sit there and try to continue to be like, oh, I'm in stealth mode because what I'm building is so freaking based. No, dude, I'm sorry. I love you all, but the likelihood that you are building something so based that everybody's just going to absolutely steal it is probably pretty small. And so, I appreciate that everybody is, shooting for the moon, land amongst the stars kind of mentality and everything. But it is okay, based on the stage we are in with AI agents, to be very public about what you're building. It's not only is it just because what you are going to be talking about will help others in building what they intend to build or what they want to build themselves, but you will never receive help if you never begin to tell the story or convey what you yourself are building or the problems that you're having.
Can I add something there?
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
I want to react with emojis of like clapping or something, because I like completely agree with what you're saying here. 2 things. One is, if you show mistakes or things that you're struggling with in public, people will help you, because people want to seem smart in public, and give it a try. I think there was a meme showing this. It's like, oh, well, you want to create engagement, the typical engagement on Twitter or whatever, just say something that's wrong and people will correct you.
100%. Many people do that on purpose. So
yeah, many people do that, like engagement farming. That works, right? Like,
yes,
I'm not saying you need to do it, but it's a tool, right? And you need to start like skimming through the social media posts to understand who's like actually doing stuff or not. And yeah, it's great to share what you're doing, mainly because, and if you're afraid of someone stealing your idea, what Patrick was saying here, I'm going to tell one phrase that hopefully you won't hate me for this, but it's, technology is worth nothing without adoption. So if you start creating a community with an idea since early on, you're going to have this little army that's going to protect and know you and your brand and what you're building, and you're going to start growing from zero. So whenever you're ready to ask for funding, launch a token, do whatever you need to grow your project, you already have users that really like you, know your story, and are attached to you and your personal image, right? So that's why it's so important and so strong to build in public, because like early on, you're creating this army of people that will vouch for you, a bunch of friends that maybe they're building their own things, so you can support each other. I'll shut up now, but I completely agree.
That you actually bring up an excellent point about like the people that adopt and they start following you early on. Those people become like your little army that protect you, and it's so funny. I have a great example for this. The example is there's a YouTuber that goes by Code with Antonio. He has these super dope, line by line coding tutorials and things like that, and they're like, he's building like full stack projects and everything. They're really, really great projects. And it's so I like to look at these videos for inspiration on like what do they do to create amazing coding tutorials. And so what's funny is as I'm going through this, I start finding videos that are basically just copy paste videos of exactly what Code with Antonio did first. And I'm like, they're just stealing somebody else's work. That's sucky and all that stuff. And that is a fear for like a lot of DevRels or just, technical content creators. It's like, oh, I'm going to create this tutorial and then somebody is going to, come around and they're going to steal my tutorial basically and make it for themselves. And then I won't get any, follows or anything from it anymore. That's not the case, because Code with Antonio, when he actually builds out these huge, technical tutorials, video tutorials, there's this another channel that actually copied a couple of his videos, and the comments on those videos on his on the guy that stole Code with Antonio's videos are just all about Code with Antonio did this first. Code with Antonio did this first, and you're stealing from him and all this stuff. And it's just like absolute attacks on that guy. And so in reality, you really shouldn't necessarily worry about people stealing any of your ideas or anything, because the people that saw your story first, started following your journey and everything, they're going to go for bat for you. And so when they start seeing something that looks weirdly identical to what you were building, people are going to be there to back you up. And so by all means, I genuinely believe in building in public, especially in the stage we're in. Now, of course, if there gets to the point where you're building something super proprietary, then I get being a little bit more secretive in those cases. But like right now, the stage we're in, we're all playing with the same frameworks. We're all playing with the same plugins. We're all playing with like the same, AI models and everything like that. So, I don't think anything that anybody is doing right now isn't really, I would say, reproducible without basically like anybody explaining what they're building. And any engineer with a basic explanation of what you're building should be able to say, oh, that's an interesting idea. I guess you would build that by doing X, Y, and Z. We're all smart enough to do that. And so I don't necessarily be so worried about the fact of like, oh, if they see my code or anything like that, or they see the problems I'm running into, they'll build it first. That's not the case. Okay.
Continue. I'll let you go. That was great. Yeah.
Awesome. Perfect. All right. So the benefits. So we've already talked about the likelihood of like downsides and things like that, but the benefits of building in public. Okay. Personal growth. I would say professionally, this is the smartest thing you can do, bar none. I actually got my first job offer as a DevRel, one kind of before I knew what a DevRel was, but not in the full context. But I won a hackathon in early, I think it was 2022. And the reason why I got a job offer as a DevRel was not because of the project, not because of the code, but how I told the story of what I was building, how I built it, why I built it, and the video tutorial of the review of the code itself. And so the storytelling becomes just as important or more important when you are very, very good at conveying the story of why and what you built. And so as a personal growth, I would definitely say developing yourself as a leader and having great communication skills is ridiculously important, not just for DevRels, not just for CEOs or CTOs or founders or anything like that, but for engineers themselves. Because as an engineer, let's just put it this way, and Fede, I'm sure you can share this same pain with me, but as an engineer, you yourself need the ability to be able to at least tell one person what was built and why it was built in a very digestible fashion. I can't tell you how many times as a DevRel, I'm saying I would go to, a certain part of an SDK or something like that. And I would go to one of the engineers and say, can you explain to me what this does and why it does what it does? And the rigmarole, the crazy spin around of just like words and just alphabet soup that they throw at me. And I'm just like, dude, just please boil it down and tell me what this is and why it was built and what I'm supposed to use it for. And if the engineers can't convey it themselves, and even a DevRel has a hard time even articulating what the engineer is saying, then, at that point, you need to work on your communication skills. And this is a very common issue with many engineers. I'm not saying all engineers have this issue, but many engineers have this issue of
Patrick,
poor communication skills.
I have a hot take.
Yeah.
I think DevRels have a job thanks to the lack of communications of engineers in general.
That's true.
You can define DevRel however you want, like content creation, whatever. But every time I've went, like every job that I've had started more technical focused, and slowly I took on more like communication role between engineering and whatever other department, as explaining, like dumbing it down a little bit of what they're like the engineering team is doing.
Yeah.
And it's funny because both sides think you're a wizard. It's like marketing guys are like, oh, whoa, that was so clear. And they didn't get like exactly what, but they got what they needed. They needed to understand the high level, right? And with engineering, is like you tell them, guys, don't worry, I'll chill the marketing guy. I'll make them understand that this takes 3 weeks. Don't worry, they will understand now why it takes so long. So like, I don't know. It's yeah. I think that's why we have a job, man.
Yes, that's very true. Is the fact that we have the ability to at least translate what is being done in a digestible fashion. That's probably the best definition of what a DevRel really is taking the technical alphabet soup and making it digestible by all means. And then also getting real time validation of ideas. Okay. So this is pretty important too. I love to lean back on my personal experience because I have I have crazy world experiences in all over the world. And so when I can come up with real world solutions for real world problems, it's probably because at some point I experienced this crazy real world problem that many people have. Engineers, to be perfectly honest, you guys aren't going into places and asking questions about their real world problems on a consistent basis, which is a skill set that is a really, really important skill set to develop at some point or another. But you yourself can think, hey, I've got this amazing idea. It'll fix this problem. And when you start telling the story and everything about it, you may realize that nobody cares because nobody experiences that problem. And so you then learn the fact that you need to start validating your ideas before building them. This is a really, really important skill when it comes to building pretty much anything. If you have an idea, you feel like it's a great idea, go validate it before you actually write any lines of code whatsoever. Put together a pitch deck. Ask questions to people that are experiencing those issues. But validation is ridiculously important as before you build and as you're building. When I say as you're building, you could be building a product that everybody wants, but then you start building features that nobody cares about. And so making sure you get real-time validation on those elements as well is very, very important. And so yes, real-time validation is ridiculously important for personal growth. And project growth. I would say that's an overlapping one. Build resilience through public trials and errors. Okay, so resilience. This is one of the things that many engineers are scared of. It is okay to not be perfect. It is okay to make mistakes, and it's okay to have open discussions with people that say, I don't know why you're building this way. Why don't you build it this way? It is okay to build that kind of thick skin when it comes to having those conversations. You need to have that thick skin. Without that thick skin, you never develop yourself as an engineer because you're never taking the time to feel the pressure of the public when they start questioning your implementations or your ideas or anything like that. So it's very, very important to build real world resilience. Now, so for project growth, crowdsource innovation ideas for the community. This is honestly very easy, and especially with how small the community is at its moment. When you share an idea and you open the door saying, I'm very interested in getting some feedback from people. What do you think about this? When 5 to 10 people from the community give you a little bit of feedback saying, hey, great idea, or hey, this seems interesting, but not scalable because of X, Y, and Z. That's a great opportunity for your project growth, because at that point, you're treating your community like a hive mind. And that hive mind is where you're taking a collection of thoughts from not just from yourself, but from other people, and beginning to iterate ideas that maybe you yourself haven't even thought about. So crowdsourcing your innovative ideas is ridiculously important. Attract early adopters and evangelists. So the evangelists, just like I said with the Code with Antonio story, is that you want evangelists not only to cheer you on and give you encouragement and things like that, but they're going to be there to back you when somebody tries to steal your idea at any point or replicate it or anything like that. So keep that in mind. And adopters, this is a two-way street. When you're in a community like all of these, specifically like the Mode AI agent community, or Eliza AI16Z, Brian, all of these different AI agent models or anything like that. In these communities, if somebody is adopting your product and trying things out, testing things out for you, it is important that you do the same for other people's projects. And so I think that's something that people forget to do as engineers, is like, oh man, I've got like 10, 15 people playing with my product. Well, that also means that you need to go get to know who these very early adopters are, see what they're building, and do the same for them, because it's a very easy way to lose adoption if you're not reciprocating an adoption, especially with other engineers. So make sure you attract adoption, but reciprocate at the same time. And then turn your audience into contributors. This is both the hive mind as idea, as well as the ability to iterate through problems and come up with solutions and things like that. And then also, if your project is open source, just like Eliza is and things like that, look at the number of contributions that project gets every single day. I think it's close to like 50 to 100 contributions a day almost. They've done an amazing job of, 1, building in public, 2, being very open and honest about what they're building, 3, great storytelling. They do a very, very good job of storytelling with what they're building. If you do the same, you will have the same contributions. So it's very, very important to be able to share the stories and attract audience and contributors. Okay, so the benefits for AI agents, building in public specifically in AI agents. So like I said, this community is really, really small, and it's a perfect time to build in public for these ideas. The collective intelligence, where all of these people are learning and iterating through this information so quickly. To be perfectly honest, at Fede, I think you and I had a very brief conversation about this, or you and Nani did, but the conversation was something to the fact of, I can't keep up with how fast this thing is moving, and how fast AI agents are moving. This new framework here, this plugin here, like craziness. Yeah, you can't keep up with it, and because you can't keep up with it, it's important to develop yourself within a community, or develop a community around you, to try to get as much real-time community feedback as possible, because at no point whatsoever is everybody able to digest how fast things are moving right now. And so having that hive mind community intelligence, or that collective intelligence rather, is ridiculously important when it comes to building in public, specifically in the AI agent space. Okay. Transparent development. So OpenAI builds, foster trust, allowing devs for auditing, refinement, optimization models, and collaboration. So again, that transparency allows people to see what you're building, offer insights, collaborate, contribute, things like that. This is also important. Going back to that same thing I said before, receiving contributions means that you need to give contributions as much as possible as well. Whether it is something you figured out and you see somebody else running into the same problem, it is ridiculously important to show that you are contributing in the community as well, because those within the community will value the fact maybe you're not necessarily contributing to something they themselves are doing, but they see that you yourself are contributing to others within the community. And that is ridiculously important. And so make sure the contributions and the collaborations, they go both ways. Fast iteration and cycles. Guys, without crowdsourced testing and people going through and playing with your tools and stuff like that, you're not going to be able to iterate fast enough. And with how fast things are being built and how fast things are changing, you need to be able to try to keep up with that as much as possible, and you're not going to be able to do that alone. So having that collective intelligence and being able to help you iterate in cycles faster is ridiculously important. The decentralized contributions. So this case, everybody loves the fact that like being able to contribute to multiple projects and having that show on your GitHub and things like that is very good for each individual professionally. So making sure that it is not only that people have the ability to contribute to your projects, but being able to do it in a very open source way, and you have developed the rails for people to be able to contribute easily is very, very important. So let me explain that really quick. Is like if I have a project and it's an open source project and it's something that I'm building in the AI agent space, if I have not put any documentation whatsoever on what are some of the most ideal ways to contribute to the project and how to do it easily, then you've created these additional hurdles for people to jump to be able to contribute to your project. So make sure you take some time to document some of your processes on how you would like people to contribute to you. That is very, very important because everybody has different ways of contributions and everything. And if you make it very clear how you would like to see your contribution, people contributing to you, it makes the job significantly easier for us to contribute to your projects. Enhanced automation. So AI-powered agents streamline community workflows. Now, this is really in a sense of like, I could develop tooling to let people know when I have made an update to my project. So that way I could use automation that basically kind of pushes to the community. Hey, I did this update. This update includes X, Y, and Z. Come check out the project with the new updates. And so that will help you streamline and automate a little bit of that storytelling instead of having to, as soon as you make a big push and then you got to go make a tweet about it, or you got to make a Discord post about it, or a message or whatever. Make sure you take the time to add a couple automations in the workflows that allows people to see when you make updates or to be able to answer questions very quickly. And then ecosystem growth, a community-driven AI framework attracts developers, businesses, and contributors. This part, in its sense, is more of a larger collaboration, a collaborative effort. If all of us are contributing to each other, and we're all also not just speaking to each other, but speaking publicly, like on X or anything like that, people will start seeing, wow, this person is contributing to this community or building within this community. This person is as well. This person is as well. Maybe I should join that community because it seems like there's a lot of really interesting things happening in the community. So the more you share your story, the more you build in public, the more you actually help that ecosystem and that community grow. Okay, so before we get into Q&A or anything like that, I'm actually going to stop sharing my screen really quick. And I want to talk about the overall, just kind of like the tools and things like that I typically like to use when I am, building in public. Number one, obviously, we already know, we're using GitHub, but in a sense that we're using GitHub to manage our repos or anything like that, making sure that we have very, very clear documentation that gets to the point of what we're building and allows and really details how to immediately test what is currently available. And then next is, how do you properly contribute, or how do you write out an issue or anything like that. Having that type of documentation, no matter how early or late stage your project is, all of that is ridiculously important to have. Otherwise, if people go to your GitHub and they go to the project and they see the project, but let's say the documentation is still the same Next.js, cookie cutter, README file or anything like that, nobody knows what the hell's going on. Take the time to really write that stuff out, tell the story, tell people how to clone it, how to, install the packages and test it out. What APIs may they need to get themselves to be able to test out the tooling and things like that. Make sure you do really good storytelling inside of the README file so that people have very clear details as to what to do. Typically, in any project, I have more than just one, markdown file. Obviously, the README file is that first file that comes up and you can read all of that. But I will create additional README files on my projects so that people can see a little bit more, in-depth detail. So a good one would be, I'll have a new page that says contributions.md, and I will link the contributions.md file and within my README file, and people can click on that inside the GitHub, and then they can get all the instructions and details on how to contribute. Or I even have projects that on, like, let's say it's a general one that I'm working on right now is a portfolio, a developer portfolio deployed on Arweave. That's a current video I'm working on right now. And I have an MD file on there that's called tutorial.md. And it's linked in the README file. And it is literally line by line, detailed explanation of how I built this developer tutorial, how I developed the deploy script, how I used the Turbo SDK and all of that, and really just broke down every single line of the code. So at any point, somebody goes and is like, hey, I want to try this out, but I have a hard time, understanding how this works. That tutorial MD file is exactly where you go for something like that. And so I love very deep and detailed storytelling like that, because it allows people to understand some of the thought processes behind, how I've developed this, as well as how they themselves can develop something similar.
Also, I'll add a little bit of like a small thing here. How good do you feel as a dev when you go to a repo and everything is very detailed and you have exactly what you're looking for and you understand why they did that? Why is this in Python? Why not in something else? How do I run this? If I have Linux, Windows, whatever, how do I run this? What problems I can find, which takes time. But now you have AI. So you could get your whole repo, tell Claude or whatever to just create a README for you, create a quick tutorial. You just have to try it out and see if it works. And you could have already a very good baseline. So if you hate writing documentation and stuff, at least run it through an AI. To create something kind of nice and add that, because people are going to be very thankful for that. Same as you are whenever you find a repo out there that is saving your life with whatever it is, right?
Yeah. One thing I'll even add on to that is, think of the times, all of us as engineers, when do we put a star on the repo? What is that moment we put the star on the repo? It's not when we spun up the project and tested it out. It's when we read through that documentation, the README file, or any other details that's giving context of what's going on, and we immediately develop interest based on the storytelling or the documentation that's there, and then you give it a star. That's basically that moment when you give it a star. You haven't even tested it out to see if it works or anything, but the documentation is so good that at that point you're like, wow, this seems really valuable. I'm going to give this project a star. And so that's just think about your own mindset and your processes of when you yourself give project repos stars, and then you need to try to replicate that same experience within your own projects as well. So if you're looking to, get stars and follows and things like that on your own project or anything, then make sure you do that really solid storytelling before they even get to the point of actually testing out the project itself.
What about tooling? You mentioned tooling.
Yeah.
I hate recording video and stuff. Like, you helped me a lot to improve my videos, but I was aiming for a little bit more quality. But like, yeah, what would you recommend to, like, as the easiest thing to use, or like tips on that?
Yeah. So guys, you don't need this whole ridiculous, like, fancy lighting and all, and like, professional cameras and all that stuff, and, the best mics and everything. You don't necessarily need all that. What you do need, though, is you need the ability to do things and optimize things well, so that it doesn't take you too long to do storytelling. Okay. So that's the biggest thing. Is first thing is processes. Come up with very clear processes for yourself to say, okay, I just did this. I want to either update the community, or I want to, post something about my, the step in my progress in developing this tool or whatever. Make sure you have very clear processes for yourselves, and always stick to them. Try not to be that person who's like, I'll post about it today, or you know what, today I just ran into errors all day, and so I'm not going to post anything. No, post about that shit. Post about everything. It's important. I think one of my favorite DevRels, who is amazing, and not just quote unquote building in public, but kind of like living in public in a way, or professionally speaking. Her name's Juliet. She's in the DevRel crypto channel. But Juliet has a Substack. She talks about everything from the time that one of my favorite articles she wrote recently was she just recently split off with some co-founders on a project, and she went off and started her own project. And it's very compelling. It's very interesting to see somebody's thought process on how they're going through that. And, some of the things that they thought, they would do differently in the future. Those are all really, really important things for other people, and people find that extremely valuable. So take the time to really document those moments that are not just the successes, but the failures as well. And so make sure you're documenting absolutely everything. Okay, so now for tools and stuff like that. When it comes to the storytelling, AI is not, there's no shame in writing articles and things in AI, as long as you go through and kind of retell it a little bit in your own voice. And also making sure that it's, it's genuine to the situation as well, making sure the AI just didn't go off and tell its own story, and it's like nothing in comparison to what actually happened. But I use Claude and things like that inside of Cursor, and I like to write things out. I'll even do my PRs and everything written out. It's like, hey, this is what we're working on right now. This is what I accomplished in this this PR series. Write this out for me in a PR format. And, that's a great way to kind of start and make sure that it's all correct, and you did accomplish X, Y, and Z, and these things are working and these things aren't working. But making sure you streamline those things with AI is very, very important to do. But the storytelling still lies within you. So you need to make sure you just go over that information and making sure that it's genuinely coming from you. Sometimes it's hard to do that storytelling on your own without the AI. And people say, using the AI is disingenuous or anything. No, AI is just kind of a nice reminder. It's like, oh yeah, we did do all of this today. And so, allowing for it to have kind of a nice wireframe for you to start from is a very excellent way to be able to write things out and do it very, very quickly. I can't tell you before, AI, how long it would take me to write a goddamn PR. And writing a PR before AI was such a pain in the ass sometimes, because like you're going through and you're trying to remember all the things you change and things like that, and then you realize, oh,
everything. I
Yeah.
got back to coding more thanks to like Cursor and stuff, because now I don't like I forget about like syntax, but I know what I want to do. So like, and I know if I see a solution, if it's good or not. So like I just jam with the AI, make it, you know, code smaller modules if I need to because it's hallucinating or whatever, and I'll just like I've been doing like very cool stuff without like really caring about TypeScript or whatever language I'm using, which is great. Um, so yeah,
Now, yeah. So as far as like, let's talk about like just being vocal in public and things and writing articles. My favorite platform personally is Hashnode, but based on the algorithm and everything like that, articles on X is going to get you the farthest reach. Now, here's some of the benefits of writing articles on X. Is now articles on X now they added the code box feature. So before, you know, they didn't, I would say about 3 or 4 months ago, maybe, you couldn't have code boxes inside of like X articles, but now you can. And so it's a great way to have some storytelling and being able to, you know, show some of the code and things like that on X. And in general, the formatting is just I would say it's like light mode or a lighter version of, you know, what Hashnode already does. If I want to tell a longer, more complex story, then, you know, by all means, you know, I'll do it on Hashnode. You know, I've written white papers and posted them on Hashnode and things like that. And so I'm a very, very big fan of, you know, Hashnode. But if it's something that I would say you want to write a daily article about some of the things you accomplish, some of the code snippets that you're just having issues with, and so on, then, you know, X articles is probably the way to go. And that's my biggest recommendation. Some of the things I would avoid like the plague, Medium. Stay away from Medium. And the reason why is, and we've all experienced this. We click on a link, we realize it's Medium. I immediately get anxiety about how far I'm going to scroll down before the freaking, you know, the paywall pops up, because we don't know if you have a paywall on your articles or not. And so lots of times, if I see it's Medium, I may not even begin reading the articles. I don't even want to experience the paywall. And so that's writing on Medium and sharing information on Medium is a very good way to lose people immediately. I just don't like that platform whatsoever. I do love Substack. I have some concerns about the underlying analytics and things on X on whether Substack is actually getting supported or not. If anybody knows about the Paul Graham versus Elon drama on the whole Substack thing, you know, just, you know, you can look that up. But yeah, I wouldn't necessarily use, you know, Substack. That's my personal opinion. Okay, so video content. We'll go through the video content really quick and then we'll be done. Okay, do not be afraid to create video if your concern is like, oh, but I don't have this great quality, or I don't have this like awesome mic or anything. You got to start somewhere. If I showed you the videos of how I started from a few years ago, then it looks really bad in comparison to like what I produce now. But you have to remember, like, my video production and everything has been the iteration of hundreds of videos. And so to give context, I shot and published 85 videos last year. Just 2024, did 84 to 85 videos. And I mean, that's a lot. That's more than a video a week. And so it's somewhere like 1.1, 1.2 videos a week, something like that. And so you only get better if you just start producing. You don't need all the production equipment, things like that. My personal opinion is, if you would like to start doing video as a form of storytelling or anything like that, maybe it's just like daily vlogs or anything like that, just about your developer journey or about your project journey or anything like that, just start. Because what's going to happen is you create it, you produce it, you get a little bit better at editing, and then you look back and it's like, okay, I can make these tiny little improvements here and there. It's all about the tiny improvements. Do not try to start by creating this crazy, freaking studio and all that stuff. start small and make very, very small iterations as you get better. Because one, let's say if any of you guys walked into my studio right now and tried to produce a video, you guys would be so freaking confused on how to get everything, like, oh, what light setting is this supposed to be on? And how do I turn on the backlights? And how do I connect the camera to this and everything? These are all been very, very little processes that I've created steps for that are very, very fast for me, but it's because I've developed this process over years. And so in order for you to do the same, you need to do it in very, very small iterations and not try to take this huge bite and try to do it all at once. It's all about trying to do it as comfortably as possible. And so I do highly recommend doing videos as much as you can, even if it is 1 to 5 minutes explaining what you're building, how you're building, and some of the issues you're having today. Just stick to that. As soon as you get really good at that kind of stuff, then the storytelling and your communication skills and everything get significantly better over time. But you have to start.
I completely agree with that. Oh, we lost your video, I think.
Yeah, keep going. So I think maybe my battery died or something. Processes, right?
This is building in public. This is building in public. This is failing in public. This is great. I was just gonna end it. So thank you, Patrick, a lot for this. There we go. Thank you, Patrick, for this. You're off stage now. Wait, I'll add you so we can hear you. That's great. This is fine.
Yeah.
This is failing in public. This is building in public. See, it's all good. Thank you so much for this amazing. Oh, there we go. Thank you for this amazing workshop. I think I completely agree with what you've talked about, and you won't see the impact until you do it. So, like, give it a try. Take the AI Agent Founder School as a test. 3 weeks of building in public. You have a community pushing for you. You have all of these amazing builders around you. So network, build in public, make connections, just push for the things that you're doing, show people, and that's it. I love it. Dude, that is cool. That is cool.
Of course. I just like, just as I'm doing the storytelling of failing in public, I fail in public.
This is so great. You're giving advice on video content and stuff, and this happens. This is like golden. I love it. Well, everyone, thank you very much for watching. If you're sync or async, we'll see you around. There's going to be a lot more workshops around. And yeah, thank you so much, Patrick. This was awesome.
I look forward to seeing what you guys build.
Yeah, 100%. Well, see you, everyone. Bye-bye.
See you guys.